Hi everyone, it's Hannah from Handjan Crochet, and today I'm with you to talk about the Inset Mosaic Crochet technique. And before we do that, I want to introduce you to my two projects that I have running right now as a crochet along. So this is the Wildflower Crochet blanket, and I also have some Wildflower Crochet washcloths that you can make once you learn how to do this technique. Now in the description below I'll add all the information where you can find the patterns, because there are different options. There are free and there are paid, and there are lots of different versions of how you can access these patterns as to whether you like the charts or just the written pattern. But let me grab one of the dishcloths and show you. What we're going to be doing is learning 5 different mosaic motif sections together, and you can apply those to any project that you like. And for the blanket especially, you can put those in any order that you like, because they all use the same number of rows, so you can really tailor these to become the projects that you want them to be. So let's first start off with looking at materials. To make this blanket I have chosen to use Hirschner's worsted wildflowers yarn. It's a really lovely yarn with a beautiful texture that we have there, a category 4 weight, and this main colour that I've chosen to use is milkweed. We need 3 balls of your main colour and then 1 each of your accent colours that you're going to use, and I've used 5 different accent colours, but you can use as many or as few as you like, as you'll see in the pattern. Along with your yarn, you'll need a 5mm crochet hook, or the hook that meets the gauge for you, and then a pair of scissors and a needle for your ends. If you are choosing to work the dishcloths, then this is it's cottage cotton. That's the words I need. This is cottage cotton, and this is a cotton and acrylic mix and a medium 4 weight, and I have used a 3.5mm crochet hook for these. So as I say, all the information is in the description below. So go and decide which one you're going to make first, and then we will work our first swatch together. Before we get making, I want to introduce you to the concept of Inset Mosaic Crochet and talk about how we read the pattern, how we read the chart, and what stitches we are going to need to know for this. So as you can see here, I've completed this swatch already, and I also have one of my dishcloths done, and I'll show you the blanket in a minute as well. And for each of our colours that we have here, you can see this pinky colour, which is our colour B in this example. I've got 2 rows of crochet here that actually make up almost 1 line. So if you look at the back here, it's going to be stripy, and each of those stripes for our mosaic section, not for the sections that we have of the main body of things, but for the mosaic sections, we'll have 2 rows of each colour as we go up and use them on the chart. And then the magic happens when we create spaces in order to then work over the top of our stitches and down into that same colour that you're using. So this long stitch here, this mosaic double crochet that we have here, for example, works down into the stitch 1, 2, 3 rows below, and that will always be in the same colour that you're currently working with. So our mosaic stitches always follow a rule in that you will always work them into an empty stitch, which I'll show you how to leave in a moment, and they work down into 3 rows below, and they work into the same colour. So once we get the principles and understand the concept of it, it's really quite straightforward, but I grant you it looks very complicated to start with. But what I've done is I've broken it down, as I say, into these 5 different sections, and then once we know how to read the chart, you can work those sections wherever you would like them to be, in your dishcloth, in your blanket, in your project, and then you can work them for as wide as you would like them to be as well. So here we are then with one of the charts, and what we can see on this is we have, working up the side here, the different colours. So this tells us which colour of yarn we're going to be using for this row here. So we have alternate between A, B, A, B, A, B, etc., up until we get to the end of that mosaic section. And then the stitches that we have going across in this direction are the stitches for our repeat. So in this little swatch that I've done here, this is just 1 repeat of this whole thing here. But you'll see that we have an S stitch at the beginning
and an F at the end. So that means our start and our finish. So we have 12 stitch repeats in the middle there, and we have a start stitch and a finish stitch. So the dark black outline that we have is when you're going to repeat that motif across. So in this example, we have repeated it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So we have 4 sets of our 12, plus then we have our outside stitches. Now, in order to use this chart, we need to know a number of things. We need to know the stitch that we're going to use if we have a block in the same colour as the yarn that we're using. We need to know what to do if we have a block in a colour that we're not using on that row. And we need to know what to do when we find an X in the box. So there's 3 different things that we need to know. If I just grab my pen here, if it will come off for me. Yes, it will. So we have our first row here along is our A colour. So we're going to be using our lighter colour that I have here. And I can see that all of my stitches along in this row are that very same colour. So for all of those, if you're using the colour of the row and you have a blank box with that colour in it, then that is a single crochet stitch. So we do 1 row of single crochet stitches, and then for inset crochet, the thing that we then do is we turn our work and we work another row. So for each of these rows on this chart, we're actually going to work 2 rows of crochet. So in total, we'll have 22 rows of crochet that you can then see here. So that's easier to see on the back, as we said, with the stripes. So we have 2 here, then we have another 2, etc., leading us up to 22 rows of actual crochet for this section. Some people do those charts so that they have 2 rows on the chart. But if I did that, then you wouldn't be able to translate this to an overlay mosaic crochet chart if you'd like to. So I have left it as this. So if you wanted to use the overlay technique for this, you absolutely can. It will be shorter, obviously, because you then only would do 1 row per row of your chart. But if you wanted to convert it, then you very much can. So our first row here of A is going to be just single crochets on this direction and then single crochets on the other direction, on the wrong side of it. And then when you get back, we are going to, as you see up the side here, we have changed our yarn colour, and you're going to change your yarn colour to yarn B. And then in row 2 here, you're going to look and you're going to see, right, do I have any X's in this row? No, you don't. So we don't need to worry about mosaic stitches for this row. What we do need to worry about though is the fact, well, not worry, don't worry about anything. What you do need to think about is the fact that some of these blocks are colour A. And when you get to one of those blocks, you're going to need to leave a space for them. So in Inset Mosaic Crochet, you can do it either way. You can either do just, if you have 1 block, you can do a chain 1, or you can do a chain 1 for the space plus then another 1. My preferred method is just to do a good size chain 1. So if you have 1 space, you do a chain 1 and then you'll skip that stitch and then you'll go and work the next, because we have these colours here that will then work into that. We know that the colour B that we're using, if we have the colour B in that row, we just work a single crochet into it. And then you would come across to this one, and then you would be like, well, that's colour A again, so I'm going to work a chain 1 and I'll skip 1, and then you'll carry on working your single crochets in your colour B. And then when you've done those, you're going to then work back across, working, when you go back across, it's actually easier because all you need to do is copy what you did before. So we'll have then, working back across here, you'll have 1, 2, 3 and 4 stitches that you'll work a single crochet into, and then you'll come across a chain 1. And then when you're at the chain 1, you work another chain 1, and then you skip that, and then you start working where your stitches are. So then you would do 5 single crochet, then you would chain 1, skip 1, and then you would work in your final 3 there. Then when we've changed our colour of our yarn back to A, we're ready to work this row 3 here. And in that row, we can see that we've got a number of different things. We're going to need to use all 3 things that we know how to do. We're going to work into the 1, 2, 3 first stitches that we have there, a single crochet, because we have a blank box with no cross in it, and it's the colour that we're using. Then when we get to this where we have an X in, that means we're going to need to do a mosaic stitch in that. And the mosaic stitch I'll show you how to do in a moment is basically just working a double crochet stitch down into 3 rows below, 3 rows of actual crochet below here. So if we see that this is here, we're working 1, 2 and 3 single crochets, and then this double crochet has gone down into 3 rows below. And that's a great thing because we have left a space for it, because underneath that was where we worked our chain. So all of this is basically just a grid to work out where to leave a space and then where to fill in that space. Then after you've done that mosaic stitch, we come across a different colour, our colour B, so we know that we're going to have to do a chain, and we're going to skip that stitch, and then you're back to using your A colour, so you'll work a single crochet, then we'll need to do a chain, and so on and so forth. You'll carry on just working along, figuring out what of the 3 options you need to do, whether you need to work a single crochet in the colour that you're doing, whether you need to do a mosaic stitch, or whether you need to do a chain one and skip the stitch. So that then carries on throughout the entire pattern. They're the only 3 things that you need to know how to do. And what I'll do now then is show you in real life what each of those stitches look like before we then work up a sample together. So here I am on my blankets, and I am working what is this row 5 in colour A. So row 5, the first one we see is a blank in the colour that we're working in. So I'm going to work a single crochet in that first stitch. So our single crochet just goes in here like that, and that is all there is to that first stitch. And you'll notice already then for the next stitch we have come across some chain spaces. Now that makes me think, right, that's where we're going to do a mosaic double crochet. And then if you check on the chart, yes indeed, the next stitch on this row, on this 5, has got a cross in it, so that means we need to do a mosaic double crochet in it. And this looks like this. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to completely ignore these chains that we have over the top here. You're going to go down into that stitch that's empty, 3 rows below. You're going to pop your hook up through and in front of those chains that we have there, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that creates a double crochet in that stitch 3 rows below. Then we come to colour B in that row, and we know now that we need to create a space for that. So in order to do that, we're going to chain 1, and then you're going to skip the next stitch of the row. So you're going to end up leaving a space for that to come down to, because then if you look ahead of ourselves on row 6, you'll see that you do actually have an X in that box, which will then mean that you work a mosaic double crochet down into the one that you've just left a space for. So then, back on row 5, we come to 2 stitches that are blank and in the colour that we're working in. So we've chained 1, we're going to skip this one, and then we are going to work 2 single crochet stitches. And then lo and behold, we've got a space, which is going to be our next mosaic stitch. So yep, we can see we need to do a mosaic stitch, a single crochet, mosaic stitch, and then 2 single crochets here. So let's do our mosaic stitch, then a single crochet, a mosaic stitch, and then did I say 2 single crochet? I did. 1 and 2. Then we can see that we have got to leave a space because we have the other colour there. So we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip 1, and then we can see that we have 1, 2 and 3 spaces ready for mosaic crochet stitches. And so this is where you just need to keep your eyes out, because on the repeats we have got 1 and 2, and then the third one is back here. So you remember I said about this dark black box being the repeat. Every 12 stitches for this one, we need to go back and start here again. So we have, there's 1, 2, and then the third one is back at the beginning of this repeat. So I've chained one and I've skipped one, and then I'm going to do 1 and 2 down into there, and that ends the repeat for this section here. And what we then need to do is start again basically with this one that we have here that is at the beginning there. So then you go down into that stitch there, and that gives you your mosaic crochet that's at the beginning there. And then you're ready to chain one, skip one, and carry on along this row 5 that we have here. And then at the end of that row, you're going to turn and you're going to work a single crochet in everything that has a stitch, whether that is a single crochet or a double crochet. And then you're going to work wherever you've had a chain 1, you're going to work a chain 1 and skip.
So now we've gone through all of the principles of this inset mosaic crochet technique. You need to decide which of the patterns you're going to make and how you're going to access them, and all the information for the options is in the description below. So go and find the pattern and then come back to me in my next video and we'll talk about how to do this section 1 together, and then you can apply that to all of the different sections in the pattern.